It's very a remote area in this particular tribe, but this is one of the things they do in northern Uganda and the Dinka tribe in southern Uganda, where they jump up and down. So it's really wonderful. So most of my trainings are with both men and women. That one was just for the women in the church, in the Anglican church. There was an Anglican church too, which is an amazing thing. But it's because of the tribe and the place where it is, they're a lot more energetic, and they haven't been so influenced. The Anglican church has only been there a very short time. In fact, the pastor is a friend of mine, and I believe he planted those churches there. Maybe not that place, but in another place, just in the like 1993, 94. So they haven't been there for hundreds of years to be influenced by the British. They have more of their own style of worship. So this is in a training that I did in a certain village. You can't see the church very well, but it is a grass thatched roof and mud floor. And the women sat down on the left while the men were on the right. And usually the men and the women are separate there, though they don't always sit down. But the women, it's actually more comfortable to sit down on the floor than sit on those hard, horrible benches. And so this was a training that we did there in this particular area. These are some ladies that I trained in another place. This again was a group of men and women, but the women wanted to come and take a picture with me. So the lady on the left, she's from western Uganda. She has a little bit of a different dress. And then the other ladies and myself, this is a more modern type of dress.
Is that the dress you're wearing?
No, that's a different one.
Oh, okay.
And this is a group of ladies in Congo. These ladies are also very colorful. And this is at a hospital there in Congo where they're treating women who have been raped. There's a lot of rape is one of the things that the armies and the rebel groups use as a force against families and against people. Many times when these women are raped, their husbands reject them. They can't deal with the mental thing that somebody else has raped their wives, and many times they reject them. And in this church, or in this hospital, a lot of the women have also had surgeries for infections and other problems that they've had. So I went and shared my testimony there. I also was raped, actually, in 1992. And so God used me to be able to, I think they were really surprised to hear me sharing. It was really one of the best things that I ever did. And this is a girl on the left. Some of them are very young. This girl is pretty young. These are some of the houses there in Africa. This house I've lived with Ugandan families for 2 years. 1 year was in town and another was in a village. This is the village. We added on the top right, we added on a couple of rooms in the left part. When I moved in there, those mud walls were wet, and there was cement floor there as well, and the floor was wet. And so I had put my suitcases in there, and they were starting to get moldy, and I was thinking, is it ever going to stop raining? It was raining and raining, and the walls were wet, the floor was wet. But eventually it did dry, and it was fine. And so I learned a lot, about raising children and the local Ugandan culture and a lot of different things in that village. This is a house that's almost kind of falling down. This is a house up there in Karamoja where the ladies were singing and dancing. And this is a house that I lived in for 1 year. It was a typical ranch-style house. And these are the bathroom. Here on the left is the latrine, and this has a little hole in the floor. And then on the top right is a shower. The shower, they put the sticks from the plant and makes the wall, and then it grows. It's growing, and there's stones on the ground so that you stand on those stones so you're not standing in the mud. And then you carry your basin of water in there with you. Not all of the latrines are in this bad of repair, but some of them are even worse. I've been in some where the floor is like wood, and you can kind of see down through the wood, and you hope that you're not going to fall through there. It's kind of terrible. So this is the kitchen behind the house, that mud house that I was living in, and the kitchen, in the back of the kitchen is that they cook with firewood and put the the pots on these stones.
Look at that iron.
So the children also are in the kitchen. There's a lot of smoke in the kitchen, so it's not a very good environment.
They cook in there.
And this is the jerry can. I wanted to, there's
Right.
another lady carrying something on her head, but this is what they carry. It's 20 liters. I believe it's 20 liters on top of the head. So she'll walk, a mile to get the water and walk back with this water on the head. And this is the charcoal iron that she was using there to iron. So you get some of the coals from the fire and you put it in the iron. And this is me doing my laundry. Most of the women, when they do the laundry, they bend over and they just are able to do it. I can't do it. So I would set up my little area here. The ground was very muddy because, again, it was raining a lot. So I got banana leaves, I put them down, that was like my little carpet, and I had it set up to wash and rinse, and then another basin to then carry to put up in the, on the line.
On the line,
And then I couldn't walk, then, I would take my feet out of the boot, and then be on my little carpet, and then I would walk to hang my stuff on the line, so. It was fun, and I could do it. I washed my clothes almost to the very last year that I was there. I was the one washing my clothes, and it was good. I think it was a good witness for other people too, because many people will pay someone to do it, but I could actually do it. I could get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and get myself settled by 7:30. I would be done by 8:30 or 9 and dressed and ready to go and do whatever I had to do. I got to be organized.
Out of the raindrops.
Yeah, and hope there's no rain. If there's rain, you got to do it another day. And then she was cooking here, Jamila was cooking some matoke, which is green bananas, and you put it in the banana leaves and it steams. These are beans that they took they peeled they cook them a certain amount and then peel the outside off of it, and then you make it a special little dish. And then red beans are the staple there, and these are actually sweet potatoes, which are white instead of orange. These are some other ladies that are cooking out in the village. We had just gone to visit these people, and they right away ran from the garden, and they started preparing food for us. And they did it so quick, I was really amazed how fast they made food for us. And they were cooking just out in the open. And these are food that's drying. I think it's either sorghum or millet, that they dry it in the sun. A lot of labor-intensive work. So if it rains, instead of cooking out in the courtyard, you have to bring your cooking things underneath the roof of the house. So that's their house there. And this actually is a dish rack. They learned that to keep the dishes clean, you dry them in the sun, and you have to have them up off of the ground. So they build this out of wood and put the dishes up there to dry.
Wow. Oh, look.
There's some ladies carrying wood on top of their head, and this one has a jerry can, but it doesn't have water. She has something else in there.
Amazing.
This is back in the Northeast. I'm switching between the different tribes. Everybody does things a little bit different, and they dress differently as well. Here's a lady up in the mountainous area. So this woman is walking on mountainous roads, carrying this big thing on her back, which is probably, it's either 50 or 100 kilos, 100 to 200 pounds on her back. And this woman was not young. She was probably 70 years old.
They live long to get their work.
Those that live deep in the villages, they eat well. They do eat greens. They're not eating a lot of meat. They don't eat any bread. They don't eat any other, don't eat a lot of sugar either. They do put a lot of sugar in their tea, but if they don't have the money, they don't, like somebody living out here, they don't have a lot of sugar. So they are healthier, and people live long. There's another lady in the very end of these slides who was over 100. And that woman, and even the lady who's 80, who I showed you had the nice dress on, she would walk 2 miles to church uphill, because I went to that same church. And it was, I went early to an English 8 o'clock in the morning service. She went to the 10 o'clock service, so it was warmer, a little bit warmer by the time she got up to go up there, and then she would walk back down. She walked. that 2 miles.
That's why they're healthy.
The temperature is actually a little bit like it is here right now. You know, it's in the 80s during the day and then in the high 60s at night. So it's cool at night. It's a little bit warmer in the dry season, just a little bit hotter, but in the rainy season it's a little cooler. So just so you know that it's not just the women doing all the work. There are some men who do help and their wives. And this is a man who's also in his 80s. He likes to do laundry for some reason, and he would do the laundry. He would also wash the clothes of his wife. This man has 3 wives. And the one lady that I showed you that had the dress, she actually moved out of the family house, and she's now living, her son had built a house on the same compound, so it's within steps of the other house where he's living with his other 2 wives. Wow. And so she is a Christian, you know, she goes to the Anglican church. You know, I think he would call himself a Christian as well. He also occasionally, on occasion, will go to the Anglican church. But what do you do? So, okay, this is a question. If you're a missionary and you go to Africa and you want somebody to get saved and they get saved, and it's a man who has several wives. So what do you do? Are you going to tell him to pick one and get rid of the other one?
No.
And there's children involved here?
No.
No, you can't do that. You know, you have to, they have to make the decision first of all. And sometimes it kind of weeds itself out. You know, if a man becomes a Christian, you know, one woman who's brewing beer, who doesn't want to leave that work, she may leave the man. Right. You know, or another one may go somewhere else. So sometimes it kind of works itself out. But they as a family need to get saved. And they need to pray about it. You know, what do we do about this situation? You just can't abandon those women. Right. And so he's really a nice guy. And he's also was very good with his daughters. And he has some daughters that are very successful. One of them works for the radio in the main capital city, and another one has an orphanage, and then another one is there helping with the parents, Jessica, who's my friend while I was there. So he was real good at raising his daughters up to be strong, but not all. You know, everybody's different, and every tribe is a little bit different as well.